Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our broadcast. Today we are discussing a question relevant to many schools, students, and parents. Are school uniforms beneficial for students? It's a topic that often brings about lively discussion, and we aim to explore various perspectives today. We have two distinguished guests to help us delve into this subject. First, Mr. David Chen, an experienced high school teacher who believes uniforms are helpful for the learning environment. And opposing that view, we have Ms. Sarah Jones, a thoughtful high school student who will argue against the implementation of school uniforms. They will each make an opening statement to present their initial arguments. Then, we'll move into a discussion section where they can respond to each other's points and answer some questions. Finally, each speaker will offer their closing remarks. Let's begin with Mr. Chen's opening statement.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. It's a pleasure to be here to discuss this important topic. I firmly believe that school uniforms offer significant advantages for students, the school community, and the overall educational atmosphere. Firstly, uniforms create a more equal setting for all students. Students come from diverse economic backgrounds, and without uniforms, differences in clothing can become very obvious. Uniforms mean that no one feels bad or left out because their clothes are not as new or as expensive as what other students might wear. This significantly reduces social pressure and can decrease instances of bullying related to clothing choices, which unfortunately does happen in schools. Secondly, I have observed that uniforms can help students focus better on their studies and improve discipline. When everyone is dressed similarly, there are fewer distractions from the latest fashion trends or who is wearing what brand. This naturally creates a more serious and work-oriented atmosphere within the school, which is very helpful for maintaining discipline and keeping attention on learning. It helps students understand that school is a place for academic work and personal growth, not a fashion show. Finally, school uniforms improve safety and build a strong sense of community, which is vital for any school. It is much easier for school staff, teachers, and security personnel to identify who is a student and who might be an intruder on school grounds when uniforms are in place. This is a simple but effective safety measure. Moreover, wearing the same uniform helps students feel like they belong to a team or a larger school community. This shared identity can foster school spirit and a sense of pride among the student body. In summary, uniforms contribute to creating a fairer, more focused, and safer school environment where students can learn effectively and feel a greater sense of belonging. These are key elements for a successful educational experience for all.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. I appreciate the opportunity to present a different perspective. While I understand some of the arguments Mr. Chen has made in favor of uniforms, I believe they ultimately have more disadvantages for students like me. My main concern is that uniforms take away our ability to express ourselves, our individuality. Clothing is an important way for young people, especially teenagers, to show their personality, their creativity, and who they are. Forcing everyone to wear the exact same thing every day can make students feel less like individuals and more like they are just a number in a system, which can be quite disheartening. This period of our lives is crucial for developing our identity, and self-expression through clothing is a part of that development. Secondly, uniforms are often not very comfortable or practical for daily wear. The materials chosen for uniforms might be itchy, stiff, or not suitable for different weather conditions. For example, they can be too hot in summer, or not warm enough in winter. Also, standard uniform designs might not fit all body types well, making some students feel awkward, self-conscious, or physically uncomfortable throughout the school day. This discomfort can actually be a distraction from learning, rather than helping students focus. Another key point is the financial burden that uniforms place on parents. Uniforms can be surprisingly expensive, especially if parents have more than one child attending the school, or if the school requires specific branded items that can only be bought from certain expensive shops. This is an extra financial stress for many families, particularly those with lower incomes, who are already struggling to make ends meet. The argument that it stops bullying over clothes doesn't always hold up either, as bullying can focus on other things, or even on how well the uniform is maintained or fits. Therefore, I strongly believe that schools should allow students to wear their own clothes, which promotes individuality, ensures comfort, and avoids placing unnecessary financial costs and stress on families. We can find other ways to address issues like safety and focus without resorting to mandatory uniforms.
Thank you both for your clear and compelling opening statements. You've given us a lot to consider. Mr. Chen, Ms. Jones raised the issue of cost for parents, describing uniforms as a potential financial burden. How would you address this very practical concern that uniforms can be expensive, especially for families with multiple children or lower incomes?
That's a very valid concern, Ms. Evans, and one that schools do take seriously. Many schools actively try to choose uniform options that are affordable and made from durable materials, so they last longer. Some schools also offer support systems, such as secondhand uniform sales, where parents can buy gently used items at a much lower price. There can also be financial assistance programs or payment plans for families who genuinely need help acquiring the uniform. Furthermore, it's worth considering that in the long run, uniforms can sometimes be cheaper than parents having to buy a wide variety of fashionable clothes for school throughout the year to keep up with trends. The pressure to wear new and different outfits regularly can also be a significant ongoing expense for parents if there's no uniform policy. So while there is an initial outlay, it might balance out, or even save money over time.
Ms. Jones, what is your response to Mr. Chen's points about affordability measures and potential long-term savings? And additionally, Mr. Chen talked about safety and the sense of community that uniforms can foster. From a student's perspective, do you think uniforms offer no benefits at all in these particular areas?
Regarding the cost, while I appreciate that some schools try to offer affordable options or support, these measures aren't always available or sufficient for every family. Even affordable uniforms add up significantly, especially with growing children who need new sizes frequently, or when items get lost or damaged and need replacing. The quote, long-term savings argument also assumes parents would otherwise be buying very expensive clothes, but many families are very budget conscious anyway. As for safety, I believe we can ensure a safe school environment through other means, like mandatory ID badges for all students and staff. ID badges are much cheaper than full uniforms and don't restrict our personal expression in the same way. They clearly identify who belongs on campus. Regarding a sense of community, I think true community spirit should come from positive relationships, mutual respect, shared goals, and engaging school activities, not from everyone being forced to wear the same clothes. Sometimes, forcing uniforms can actually create resentment among students who feel controlled, which is the opposite of fostering a genuine community feeling. We build community by working together and appreciating each other's differences, not by erasing them visually.
Mr. Chen, Ms. Jones makes a strong argument about individuality being very important for students, especially during their formative years. She suggests that uniforms suppress this crucial aspect of development. How can schools ensure students are still able to express themselves if they are required to wear uniforms?
That's an excellent question. While uniforms do standardize appearance during school hours, they don't eliminate all avenues for self-expression. Students can and do express their individuality in many other meaningful ways. This includes their achievements in academics, their participation in skills in sports, their talents in arts like drama or music, and their contributions to clubs and school events. Many schools also allow for some variation, for example in hairstyles within reasonable school rules, or through small appropriate accessories like watches or modest jewelry if the school policy permits. The key point is that school is primarily a place for learning and personal development in a structured environment. A uniform helps create an atmosphere conducive to that primary purpose. Self-expression through fashion can be fully explored outside of school hours, during weekends, and holidays. School time is for focusing on education and shared community values. It's about finding a balance, and uniforms help to ensure that the main focus remains on learning and equitable participation.
Ms. Jones, Mr. Chen suggests that self-expression can be channeled into areas other than clothing during school hours, and that the focus should be on learning. What are your final thoughts on achieving this balance between a focused learning environment, which schools aim for, and the students' need for personal expression?
I believe a truly focused learning environment is one where students feel comfortable, respected for who they are as individuals, and genuinely happy to be there. If students feel that a core part of their identity is being suppressed by a mandatory uniform, it might actually make them less engaged in learning, not more. Feeling good about yourself, including how you present yourself, can boost confidence and positively impact participation in school life. Furthermore, learning to make appropriate choices about personal appearance is also an important part of growing up and preparing for the world outside of school, including future workplaces where dress codes can vary widely. Allowing students some freedom in their clothing choices, within reasonable guidelines set by the school, can teach responsibility and decision-making skills. It's not about unlimited freedom, but about finding a middle ground that respects both the need for an orderly environment and the student's development.
Mr. Chen, Ms. Jones mentioned that discomfort from uniforms could be a distraction. Some students might find the fabric or fit genuinely problematic. How do schools typically address these practical comfort issues?
That's a fair point. Schools usually try to select uniform items made from breathable and comfortable fabrics. There's often a process where different options are considered, and sometimes student feedback is even sought on material and design. Many uniforms now offer various styles like different types of trousers or skirts to cater to different preferences and body shapes better than older, more rigid designs. If a student has a specific medical reason for needing an adjustment, schools are generally very accommodating and will work with parents to find a suitable solution. The aim is not to make students uncomfortable, but to provide a practical and unifying form of dress.
Ms. Jones, Mr. Chen has emphasized the role of uniforms in reducing socioeconomic distinctions. Do you believe there are other, perhaps more effective ways schools can promote equality among students without resorting to uniforms?
Absolutely. While uniforms might hide some visual economic differences, they don't erase them. Students are often still aware of who has the latest phone, or the most expensive shoes for out-of-school wear, or where people go on holiday. True equality comes from fostering a culture of respect and inclusivity within the school, where differences are celebrated, not hidden. Schools can do this through educational programs that teach empathy and understanding by ensuring equal access to resources and opportunities for all students, regardless of their background. Strong anti-bullying policies that address all forms of discrimination, not just those related to clothing, are also far more effective. Focusing on character, kindness, and shared human values will do more for equality than making everyone wear the same shirt.
To conclude, I firmly believe that the benefits of school uniforms are clear and very important for a positive school experience. They help make our schools fairer and more equitable places by reducing the socioeconomic differences that can be so visible and divisive when it comes to clothing. This, in turn, can lessen social pressures and bullying, allowing students to feel more secure. Uniforms also promote better discipline and help students concentrate on their learning, which is, after all, the main purpose of attending school. By minimizing distractions related to fashion, we create an environment more conducive to academic achievement. Furthermore, uniforms contribute significantly to school safety by making it easy to identify students and outsiders. They also build a stronger, more visible sense of community and school pride among students. While I understand and respect the desire for self-expression, this can be, and is, nurtured in many other ways that do not involve daily clothing choices at school. Ultimately, school uniforms help create a positive, respectful, and focused learning environment, which is in the best interest of all students and supports their overall development.
In closing, I want to re-emphasize that from a student's perspective, school uniforms are often not the best solution for creating a positive learning environment. They significantly limit our important right to self-expression and individuality at a key time in our personal development when we are trying to figure out who we are. Being forced to look the same as everyone else can feel restrictive and can undermine a student's sense of self. Uniforms can also be genuinely uncomfortable, as I've mentioned, due to materials or fit, and they place an unfair and often considerable financial burden on many families. True equality and respect in schools come from understanding, accepting, and celebrating our differences, not from attempting to make everyone look identical. We can create a safe and focused school environment through other effective measures that do not involve taking away students' freedom to choose their clothes. Preparing for the world means learning to make responsible choices, and what we wear is a small but tangible part of learning that responsibility and expressing our identity in an appropriate manner. We should trust students more and find solutions that empower us rather than just control us.
And that brings us to the end of our discussion on whether school uniforms are beneficial for students. My sincere thanks to both Mr. David Chen and Ms. Sarah Jones for sharing their different views so clearly, passionately, and thoughtfully today. You've both provided excellent points for our consideration. We've heard compelling arguments about how uniforms might promote equality, discipline, and safety on one side. And on the other side, strong points were made concerning individuality, personal comfort, and the potential financial costs to families. It's clear that this is a complex issue with many valid factors to consider, and the best approach may differ from one community to another. We hope this debate has given you, our audience, a lot to think about and discuss further. Thank you for joining us today for this important conversation.